Hey guys, so last night Path of Exile dropped the 0.2G patch, and oh my gosh, it has changed so many things. So to give you guys some context, the 0.2G patch was supposed to be implemented to address a lot of the drop and item loot issues that people were experiencing. People were saying that compared to point 1, the loot just didn't feel very good. We just weren't getting enough loot. We weren't getting enough currency. So as a response to that, GGG went and made a plethora of changes to basically increase the floor for the amount of loot that we get, and basically increase like rarity across the board for monsters so that we're just getting more loot and getting more currency drops and better loot in general as well. And as a result of this, there has been a huge impact on the market. So as you can see right here, just to summarize a little bit of the important points, right here they said that these changes in the game should generally result in about 20 to 30% more rare currency drops. And I think that given the current price and inflation of Exalted Orbs, it's maybe a little bit more than that. But let me explain. So as you can see right here, Exalted Orbs have inflated a ton over the past 24 hours. Now, before this patch, I think Exalted Orbs were about 110 or to 120 to 1 Divine Orb, and now it's floating around, I'd say, 170 range. 165 to 170. I've been seeing it sit at 169 pretty solidly. Right now it's kind of shifting a little bit more, but in that kind of ballpark range. So if we kind of go and look at the percent change calculator, you can see that the change from 120 to 170, that change is approximately 41 to 42% increase. So rather than that 20 to 30% range, it feels a little bit more like, 40%, which is, I think, probably a little bit too much. But let me hold on. I know you guys are like, whoa, too much. I'll explain it a little bit. But it definitely feels like right now, the I guess balance of drops, right? If everything increased proportionally, we wouldn't have seen a huge increase in the inflation of Exalted Orbs. But it looks like things like Exalted Orbs are dropping a lot more often than things like Divine Orbs. And as a result, the Exalted Orbs have gone up and inflated so much. Now, the reason why I think that this might not necessarily be a good thing is mostly because of the timing. If this happened at the beginning of the league, I think that would be totally fine, is it would just be a new baseline, basically, right? But because that happened in the middle of the league, I actually think that they might have turned the knob a little bit too much. Because if you think about it this way, right? With inflation, the $100 or the 100 Exalt Orbs you might have had in your inventory the day before is now worth way less than it was, or it currently is. You might have sold an item for 100 Exalts, 120 Exalts, however much it may be, right? And then now immediately those exalts are worth less, and the amount of money that you earned the previous day has just dropped significantly. Now, if you're holding on to divines, that's a lot better, right? Because the divines didn't really inflate. It really is just the exalts. But if anybody was holding on to exalts before, it kind of feels like your kind of work and the things that you did before are a little bit less valuable. So that's why I think that if they were to do such a huge, drastic change to drop, they probably should have done it in, the new season rather than in mid-season. I think that in the mid-season, if they were going to do this change, which, clearly people wanted it, I think maybe toning a little bit down would have been the best. But at this point, they probably can't turn it back down the other way. So we kind of have to deal with the consequences. But yeah, drop has increased a lot. I played a lot yesterday and have definitely noticed in change in the drops. We're definitely getting a lot more orbs, a lot more exalted orbs, as I mentioned, but also a lot more rare items and higher tiered rare items as well, which means that we're going to be getting overall a lot better quality gear. And picking up rares is going to be a lot more worth it, especially if they're higher tiered. This is also really good news for Soul Self-Found, our friends over in Soul Self-Found, because this means that they're getting more drops, so they're able to craft gear more. Of course, having more deterministic crafting and things like that is going to be the best for them. But at the moment, that's what we have, and they're still pretty dang happy. And I'm, of course, it's definitely, it makes sense that they're happy. But looking at the new kind of changes to the game, they're actually, I would say, in terms of the way that you're going to farm gear and farm currency, I think there has been a little bit of a change as well. I've been seeing people talk about expedition being very popular and very profitable. I've been seeing people talk about delirium, and that's pretty good too. Ritual right now, as opposed to before, which I thought ritual was a very consistent way of making money, it feels like very much a feast or famine type of situation, because right now everything else across the board got buffed. Like Breachstone drop rates have gotten buffed. I think the Catalyst drop rate, it looks like they got kind of buffed. Simulacrum Splinters, all that stuff got buffed, right? But Ritual was not touched. The rates of items in Rituals has not been touched. And as a result, you have things like Whittling Omens. They have gone up tremendously. The price of whittling and all the expensive omens in Ritual have gone up tremendously. And as a result, it ends up being a little bit more of a feast or famine thing, especially now with audiences also being a bit more common. So your ability to earn money now with Rituals is a little bit less consistent compared to before, because everything else has gone up in consistency, right? It's not that Rituals are any less consistent than before, actually, and maybe that I'm explaining it incorrectly. They're not less consistent than before, but the thing is, everything else has gotten more consistent, and as a result, Ritual has become a little bit more of a feast or famine, where if you get one of these big omens, you're really happy. But if you don't get one of these big omens, it ends up being that some of the other methods of farming might be a little bit better. Particularly, I think that Expedition really came up a lot because the chest buffs, because you get so many chests when you do Expedition, all those chests that you open have more of a chance to drop good items. Additionally, I have also spec'd from Wisps and Essences. I have spec'd over to Strong Boxes and Shrines, because Strong Boxes also seem really good now with the changes to the drop rates of chests and Strong Boxes. They didn't touch Essences. Wisp got touched a bit, but really Wisps are still kind of like another feast or famine type of situation, where if you get a rabbit spirit or a fox spirit, you're eating good, but other than that, you're not really getting much. So Strong Boxes, Expedition, those seem like on the come up in terms of the amount of currency you're gonna be getting and the consistency of currency. So potentially you guys want to consider, like, you might want to consider using some of those in your farming techniques as well. Rarity farming is still good. I'd say that compared to before, it might be it's still going to be better than before, but I think the amount of increase in terms of the loot that you're going to be seeing is less so compared to somebody who wasn't running rarity at all, because they did decrease the value of rarity gear. So lots of changes, in my opinion, probably a little bit, I don't know, mistimed if we're talking about the magnitude and the scale of changes, but I'm still positive on the changes and happy about it. And I think people in general are very happy about these changes as well, because they feel like their time is more, I guess, valued, and what they're doing is going to be increasing their drop rate and their fun overall. And that's the most important thing, right? People are having more fun, people are happier. So if you guys were not playing Path of Exile 2 because there were a lack of drops, I think you should consider trying it again and giving it a shot, because Path of Exile 2 in general, right? I think it's a fun game. I've been having a lot of fun with it, and this only improves it for most people. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about the changes down in the comments section below. And as always, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MisoXhero. So I'd love to see you guys there. And also, while you're at it, hit the sub button. It's the best way to support the channel. But hopefully I see y'all on the next video. All right, guys. Peace.